Okay, you guys, today we're going to make a color wheel by mixing Play-Doh. Now we're going to start with our color wheel page, and we are using one that has primary and secondary colors. And then you also want to start out with one little ball of Play-Doh for each of the primary colors, which are red, blue, and yellow. Okay? Now, if you have these three colors, you can make all the other colors of the rainbow. It's actually pretty cool. So we're gonna do that today, okay? So I'm gonna start with my red ball, and I'm basically going to break it into three little pieces, even pieces. Okay. The first part, you can roll into a little ball and just stick it right on the red section. Okay, that one's easy. Our work is done for us, right? Now orange. In order to make orange, we need to mix the red with some yellow. So we're going to do the same thing with the yellow that we did with the red. We're going to split it into three even sections. Okay. We're going to squish one right away on the yellow section. And then the other piece, we're going to mix with the red. You just have to kind of squish it between your fingers like this, back and forth. This is brand new Play-Doh, so it's really nice and soft. And then do you see? Changed color, turned into orange, okay? Because we mixed our red and our yellow together. So now I just roll the orange into a ball and I squish that right down where it says orange. Now for green, we need to mix yellow with blue. So we're going to put our blue into three sections. The blue is easy, it's already done for us. We're going to squish that down there where it says blue. And then our other two sections we're going to mix. So we're going to mix the yellow with the blue to make our green. Should only take you about 10 seconds or so. But you can do it for longer if you like. There we go. See how quickly that turned into green? Pretty cool, huh? So let's roll that up, put it here. Okay, and then of course we have two pieces left, right? Red and blue. What color are we going to make when we mix that? What color are we missing here? We're missing violet or purple. And that's exactly what's gonna happen. That's what's gonna mix once we squish these two together. There we go. You can even squish it on the table if you want. I like to squish it between my fingers a little bit easier. There we go. We have our violet. So we finished our color wheel. Do you guys want to try a harder one? Okay, here is another color wheel, but this one's a little bit more difficult because we have our primary colors, our red, yellow, and blue. We have our secondary colors that you get from mixing your primary colors together, which are orange, green, and violet. But now we also have to make tertiary colors. Now, tertiary colors are the colors that you get when you mix secondary colors with primary colors, okay? So to make it a little bit easier, I labeled them here so that you don't have to kind of guess what those are on your own, okay? Now, of course, I just showed you how to mix the green, orange, and violet, so I didn't do that again. But what you're gonna do is that once you mix these colors, you're going to need three more little chunks of primary colors, okay? So let's make red violet first. In order to make red violet, you need to mix blue with red, but you need more red than blue, okay? Because it's more of a reddish violet, just like the name says. So this is about how big, it's kind of like a 2-to-1 ratio, okay? So this red one is about 2 times as big as the blue. So let's mix that up. And if you don't get it perfect when you're mixing, it's totally fine. Part of this is kind of just experimenting and seeing, you know, just how many colors you can make if you just have your 3 primary colors. So I'm just mixing it, rolling it into a ball. And it's actually still a little bit marbled, so you can still kind of see a little bit of the mixing going on. But there you go. I mean, it's very similar to violet, but it's closer to the red color, okay? Now, how about red-orange? It has to be kind of in between this and this. So, same thing as when we were making the red violet. We need a bigger piece of red and a smaller piece of yellow, okay? And as you're mixing these, if you notice, once they're mixed, if it looks too red, you can just add more yellow and it'll turn orange, okay? Okay. I'll squish that down. Now it's very, very subtle. It may even look from the video like these are the same colors, but in person I can tell that this one's just red, this one's almost orange, and then that one is our orange. Now, a yellow orange. This is going to be the opposite, where we need a bigger piece of yellow and a smaller piece of red. In fact, I'm just gonna take a tiny little piece of red. So it's kind of like this, okay? So a big piece of yellow, small piece of red, and then you mix it. Because the yellow orange needs to be, just like the name says, more yellow. Okay, I'm mixing. I'm happy I have new Play-Doh. This would be harder to do if I had like dried out Play-Doh. Okay, I'm just gonna compare it. I think it looks too close to this orange, so I'm actually gonna add a little bit more yellow. Okay, and you can do that. You can kind of compare it with the color that you have down there to make sure that you're mixing the color that you want. Okay, yep, that looks pretty good. That looks kind of like it's the color that would go in between. So I'm gonna roll it up into my ball, squish it down. Yellow-green. What do you think we have to do there? Now, to make green, it's yellow and blue, right? So we still need a yellow and blue, but we need a big piece of yellow and a small piece of blue. Let's see if that works. Yeah, that did work. Looks almost like a lime, kind of like a lime color, you know? Let's see. I just kind of compare. So as you can see, it's yellow, it's more yellow than this green, and that's perfect, okay? If yours isn't, if yours still looks like this, or if it looks more aqua, then that means you need to add more yellow, okay? So it should look kind of like it belongs in between these two, okay? So that's our yellow-green. I'm gonna squish that down there. Now blue-green, or aqua. Again, we need blue and yellow, but this time we need more blue than yellow, okay? So I'm just gonna take a tiny piece of yellow and a big piece of blue. I'm gonna squish them. This is actually my favorite color, so I'm excited for this one. Okay, let me see. That's looking pretty good. Just gonna keep mixing it to make sure. So do you see how that's kind of like an aqua now? I think that's perfect. So I'm gonna roll it up, put it right here. That's actually a pretty big piece. Okay, so we actually have only one more color on our color wheel, and that's blue violet. So remember, to make violet, we had to mix blue with red. But if we want it to be a blue violet, we need it to be more blue than red. So hopefully you can guess by now what that means we need to do. We have to take a bigger piece of red and a smaller piece of red. I'm sorry, a bigger piece of blue and a smaller piece of red, okay? So it would be kind of like this. And squish them. Okay. Let's see. Okay, so as you can see, it almost looks gray actually, but the more you mix it, the red really starts to blend with the blue and it becomes a blue violet, okay? And so I just kind of compare it, okay? So you see how it's different than that, it's darker than that, and it's definitely not violet, okay? It looks like it's in between. I might actually add a little bit more red so that it looks less gray and more purple. It's all kind of about experimenting, okay? And hopefully you can see a color wheel, or you can use mine as a reference so that you can compare the color that you're mixing to the color that's supposed to look like, okay? There we go, that ended up being a huge piece. So here we go, here's our color wheel, okay? So we have red, red, orange, orange, yellow, orange, yellow, yellow, green, green, blue, green, blue, blue, violet, violet, and red violet, okay? Now, they're probably not perfect, but at least you get the idea of how the colors kind of blend together, and it's fun to make also. The last thing we're gonna do, let's make a value scale. Now you can only do this if you also have blue and white Play-Doh, which I do. I've never had black Play-Doh before, but it's actually really fun. And then just actually any color. You can even do a value scale with blue, green, or purple, whatever color you want, but I'm gonna use red, okay? Now a value scale basically means showing a color from its lightest version all the way to its darkest version, okay? So basically how dark or light a color is. Now in the middle of my value scale, you can see it says hue there, H-U-E. That basically means the color on its own, okay? So in this case, since I'm using red, that would be red. You just kind of squish it, okay? If you want to kind of form it into the box, you can. Now, I'm going to break up the rest of my red into two pieces, okay? And I'm going to have this half be the side that I turn into my lightest version of red. And this half I'm going to turn into my darkest version of red, okay? So what I'm going to do for the lightest, I'm going to take my white, and I'm just going to take a tiny piece at first, okay? Really just like this, almost like the size of a pea. And I'm going to blend it in with my red. Oops, drop some. So my blue-green, there we go. Okay. Now, once it's kind of blended, I'm just going to put it close to what I already have down there to see if it's different enough in color. And I think it is. Do you see how it's lighter? So I'm just going to take off a tiny chunk. I'm going to leave most of it. And I'm going to put that tiny chunk right next to it. Okay. Now we have this piece. Let's add some more white. Just going to take a bit of white and I'm going to mix it. Okay. Now you can do this with paint also, or even colored pencils. If you have colored pencils, you don't have to use Play-Doh to fill in this color wheel. I just think it's fun to mix the colors this way. Okay, so compare it. Looks a little lighter than that, right? I think we're good. So take off a chunk and put it down. And just kind of form it into the shape of a little rectangle. Now, we only have one more box, so we only have one more version or one more value that we can show of this red. So I'm going to take the remaining piece of red and I'm going to mix it with some white. Now it should end up kind of like a pink or like a light coralish color. Yeah, perfect. Okay. Now you could have gone more dramatic with this, so by that I mean you could have added more white at each step so that it got even lighter than what I'm showing. But however you did it is fine, as long as it continues to get lighter and lighter as you go from the middle to the left. Okay, that piece looks like a little piece of gum. So there we go. Here's our red, and then it's getting lighter and lighter as you go that way. Okay. Now, let's take our other piece of red, the other half that we broke off, and a little piece of black. Now, the black is pretty overwhelming, so just use tiny pieces as you're mixing it, okay? Because you don't want it to turn like super gray. I think I may have already used too much. Black is a very strong color. Okay. Okay, so this is actually pretty dark. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to add some more red, okay? Because I don't want to start out this dark. I want to start out a little bit lighter. It's a little better. Okay. So now I'm going to put that here. Because we're doing the opposite, right? We're starting with our red and we're going to get darker. So now with the rest of this piece, I'm going to take like a tiny, tiny piece of black because it's so strong. And I'm going to mix that in. Oh, maybe I actually didn't add enough. Let's see. You can just kind of put it and compare. It looks the same, right? Let's add a little bit more black. Yeah, I think that'll do the trick. Okay, so I'm gonna take off a little chunk of this, put it here. Okay, and now I have a little piece left. Let's add some more black, another little piece of black, to get our darkest value of red that we're gonna get. The black is kind of hard to blend it well. Do you see how it kind of looks like marbled? By marbled, I mean it almost looks like it has like stripes going through it. All right. So this looks very dark, right? It almost doesn't even look like red anymore. So there we go. You can kind of just tap it all down. And there we go. Here's our finished color wheel with our primary, secondary, tertiary colors, and our value scale. Hopefully yours came out cool, you guys. Thanks for joining me. I'll see you back here soon, okay? Bye. If you guys liked making art with me today, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of my new videos. Hope to see you back here again soon.